there is something that happens here in Colonial Beach and they think that they need extra help, whether it be from Virginia State Police or from the Sheriff's Office or something like that, but they won't be afraid to ask for it. It needs to be somebody who, if they're short-staffed, that they're willing to come out and cover a shift. I mean, it's a small department. And so I really feel like the chief of police needs to be part of that department. That includes patrolling, community policing, things of that nature. I think in areas as small as the beach, community policing is really important. So the chief needs to be willing to be out in public, to get to know the citizens, to get to know the people in this town and what that they think is important or what problems they think there are, so that the agency can attack those problems or can address those problems, I guess is the better word rather than attack. I think that they need to be experienced and knowledgeable about Virginia law and procedure, that they need to know what the laws are so that they can answer questions their patrol officers might have. Along the lines with the new ways of policing, search warrants have changed drastically. And so if an officer has a question about a search warrant, I feel like they should feel comfortable going to their chief and saying, hey, what am I supposed to do in this situation? And so I'd want them to be knowledgeable about that. And then finally, I think honesty and transparency are really important. I am a firm believer in you don't hide the ball. I am a prosecutor who, my case is my case. I have an open file policy in my office. The defense attorneys get everything that I have, good, bad, ugly, because it is what it is. And the justice system works because we have a system. And that system means that you have to be honest. I encourage the officers to talk to defense attorneys. I encourage them to let them know what their case is like or to answer any questions they have. And so I think it's really important to have somebody who has those same attributes, who believes that we're not here to put people in jail. We're not here to prove the case, that we're here to work hard. We're here to protect the citizens, but we're going to be open and we're going to be honest and we're going to be transparent about it. And that's what I'd say to look for. Answer questions, or are you good?
Are there any questions from council members? I mean, we've seen each other at the Board of Supervisors meeting, so it's nice to see you here in our context a little bit. So hopefully you'll come back too.
I will be glad to.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Mr. Turner? Is Sean back there? There he is. Standing room only back there, huh?
Good afternoon, everybody. I just really wanted to come up and, as you know, I resigned as the superintendent of Colonial Beach Public Schools. And so I just want to take an opportunity to thank the council just for your support, thank the community for supporting the school district and myself. And wish you guys the best luck. You know, it's been a pleasure working with you on the budget. I've had developed partnerships with BAM and with the Chamber of Commerce and many other people in the community. And I've grown to appreciate and love, respect everything about Colonial Beach. And so I just really want to come and tell you guys thank you, okay? And that's really all I had to say. All right.
I want to thank you also, Mr. Turner. It's been a pleasure working with you, and I know I've been a thorn in your side. I make no problems about it. I ask a lot of questions. I want to know a lot of answers. I want to account for every penny in that thing. And you're sick of hearing about me, I'm sure. But it's also grown the relationship between the town and the school.
Yes.
Being a drifter myself, it means that much more to me. And I have just valued the work that you've done there. And you always talk about the kids first. You really always, you feed it into any kind of seminar we've been to or any kind of work. It's always, and I appreciate that, because that's what it's all about. Yes, even for us up here, you know. So just thank you for giving me all the documents that I asked for and all of the analysis, and poor Tim, I know he's back there, he's been sat at the table with me as well, so
Yes.
I just appreciate that, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Let's have a round of applause.
Sure. Could I say something?
Sure.
Dr. Turner, I'm not sure you had arrived when Ms. Robinson made a few remarks earlier. She was just praising you and your work. And I wanted to add to that. You know, we get, as council members, we get a lot of questions from citizens that we don't know the answers to. And you have always, if it had to do anything with the school or COVID or cancellations or football, you've always returned my call promptly so that I could pass that information along and dispel rumors. And I really appreciate that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Hold on.
So I just want to personally thank you. I mean, I remember seeing you at Washington District when I was dropping my kids off, and you were the principal.
Yes,
And then
sir.
having you as a superintendent as my kids graduated from the beach was great as well. So I appreciate everything you've done.
No problem. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. All right.
Mr. Trivett, our Westmoreland County Supervisor.
Council members, I don't know how hard it would be for y'all to speak in that mic, but we have a very difficult time back there hearing anything you say. We could hear you all right, Madam Mayor, but it's really hard to hear. We couldn't hear anything. I couldn't anyway, what Ms. Robertson was saying. So maybe if y'all could get closer to that mic, I don't know if that'll resolve it, but just a suggestion. You know, sometimes politically, you shouldn't comment to comments, you know, because it doesn't do you very well sometimes, but then sometimes you just are convicted to say something about something when you hear something. And I just want to tell you that if the public only understood how difficult it is to be in a political position. And the people that were at that debate last night, I was there, I heard what they said. When you get up there though, it's a totally different game. And all of you know it. I don't care how good you are, how much you volunteer, how many hundreds of meetings that you go to, somebody is going to criticize you. And like you said, Madam Mayor, you can't please everybody, but you just keep doing the best you can do. And that's what I would encourage you to do, even when you hear the negativity, because it's not going to stop. You just have to make the right decisions, you know, and let your heart lead you. I would tell you that I was glad to hear the Commonwealth Attorney speak. She does an outstanding job. She's an awesome prosecutor. The county's blessed to have her. And I really commend you for bringing her down here because she's very knowledgeable and she'll help you get to where you need to be with the police chief. Hopefully you'll continue your talks with her, even maybe not in a public setting, because she's invaluable. And I know how much she is appreciated by the law enforcement in this county. So having said all that, it's a great night. That's what I will tell you. And all of us in this room right here are blessed, whether we know it or not. But I want to tell you, this past week at the Board of Supervisors meeting, it was really a good thing to see that the American Heart Association was there to recognize EMS for the county. It was unbelievable. They got the Silver Plus rating in 2020, even with all the COVID, and we all know the changes and all the protocols now and how difficult it is on EMS. Probably every one of them just about have had COVID. And they put themselves in harm's way every day, whether they're law enforcement, EMS, or fire. And we can't praise them enough. I just have to tell you that. And they're paid, but there's still a lot of volunteers that do it every day for the love of it and for the love of people. They saved 8 individuals last year that were suffering from cardiac arrest. the national average is 15%, and they were recognized for having 32%. And in a rural county like this, it's 40 miles down the other end of the county, or maybe further up to this end of the county. Now, I'm thankful that we have gotten the EMS fully staffed now. We have 4 captains. We have 12 new EMS members that's supporting the county. We now have 4 units. There's been a delay in the Oak Grove substation or squad building out there at Oak Grove due to material and all these different things. That building should have been done months ago. But the only thing left to do now is to get the diesel tanks so they can fill the vehicles. And so it's almost 100% complete. So that's a good thing. And we all know, I've talked about it many times at this podium about how many times a week all of those squads are in this town. And so we owe them a debt of gratitude. This year, they received for 2021 the highest honor that you could possibly get from the American Heart Association, and that's called the Gold Plus Award. And so I just want to commend them. They deserved it. They were recognized at our meeting, and I just want to make you aware of that. So after the 10-year census was just completed, and as a result of that, the board's required to appoint a redistricting committee, and that's being done. And what that redistricting committee will do is they'll develop a plan, and they'll bring that back to the Board of Supervisors. And each district is supposed to have an even amount of population. So that's going to be taken care of pretty shortly. And I will mention the new assessments tonight. I know you said a little bit about it. We've been told by the county administrator that they're coming out in December. There's a board of equalization that will be formed. Even though the supervisor in each district makes a recommendation, the circuit court is the one that actually appoints the board members. And there's a lot of criteria that goes behind that. And that board of equalization, what they will do is if you have a complaint about your assessment, they're the ones that will hear it. So I recommended that the judge appoint Tom Savage. He's a substitute judge. He's an attorney for a long time. His father was an attorney. He's just a great person. And he agreed to do that. So I'm hoping that the court will appoint him as one of those members. And I look forward to him being a part of that board. And at our meeting, we were also told that Colonial Beach will be getting about $1.5 million in American Rescue Plan money. It was available as of April of 2021. I know the school division will have to come back to you and ask you to amend their budget this year because it'll be more than 1% of their budget. But so that's a great thing that they are getting those funds to come. And also the county got funds as well. The good thing about it is, and even the town has seen it's separated this time. It's not the county controlling what you're going to do with your money or how much of a percentage of it they're going to take to use for something else. So, but I look forward to continue to working with you. I just have to tell you and tell the public, the relationship between the county and the town is probably better than it's been for years and years. And every one of you have been to our meetings. And that's something that probably hasn't occurred in years and years. And so I think that we're trying our best to bridge that gap between the county and the town. The county does offer us many services, the court system, social services, the sheriff's office, all of those things do provide services in the town as well. And that's what our tax dollars go for when we pay county taxes. So we look forward to forging ahead with that relationship and keeping it going and making it even better than it is right now. Any questions tonight about anything that you have? Thank you.
Meeting, and it really was an honor to see Westmoreland EMS presented that award. It was very significant.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Downtown Colonial Beach. Joyce Reimer.
Thank you very much. My name's Joyce Reimer, and I'm reporting on the results of the Downtown Colonial Beach, Virginia Main Street Commercial District Affiliates Grant.
One moment, I'm sorry.
We have a PowerPoint to go up there.
I think they're just trying to let people get comfortable.
It's loaded. Heather, I think, is going to pull up the PowerPoint.
We are, just a second. We had to get some more chairs out.
So our presentation is titled Tomorrow Starts Today in Colonial Beach. Results of the Downtown Colonial Beach, Virginia Main Street Commercial District Affiliates Grant. Next. The purpose was to create designs to guide and inspire potential investors in the downtown, and to produce a marketing prospectus to recruit new retail to the downtown and commercial core. The results, streetscapes of the downtown we'd like to see, building designs for property owners, a compelling marketing prospectus, and we realized as we were finishing this that it constituted an update and foundation, an update of the 2010 Downtown Revitalization Plan and a foundation for a downtown revitalization plan for today. It includes reasonable projects that could anchor the downtown's character, meet many community needs, and build a year-round customer base for businesses in our commercial core. Next. We want you to know how this was made possible. First, Edward Hart, who raised the matching funds to qualify for the grant, and Jackie Stewart, our building streetscape and marketing prospectus designer. And we have a little something for both of them. Could they come forward? First for Edward. Because P stands for appreciation.
Thank you.
We couldn't have happened without you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Thank you.
Now, we know you're not a bachelor.
No.
But half the women in this town are. And maybe quite a few of the men too. All right, Jackie Stewart. A dozen roses, because red stands for passion. And nobody could have been more passionate about creating the designs that she's done, building designs, a beautiful marketing brochure. And some of you know I'm not the easiest person to work with all the time. And so she really deserves a medal, but not just roses. Thank you, Hillary. A list of many other collaborators. There are so many people that had input and contributed to this in some fashion. Now I'm going to present to you Jackie's designs and concepts. And we have some of our friends and family to hold up some of these designs so that you can see them in a larger size. So these concepts, these designs, of course, pardon me?
Can we keep those to display after this?
Yes, I believe, Jackie, if that's okay. And thank you all for showcasing them. Of course, this plan calls for historic preservation and creative reuse of historic buildings. We celebrate our retro motels like Doc's Motor Court, and the Riverview Inn. Retro style that might even carry over onto the boardwalk. We recommend retail and restaurants on first floors. Second story rentals to augment retail income and meet housing needs. We suggest jumping on any destination retail opportunities. If you don't know what that is, that means a type of retail or restaurant that is a draw in and of itself. If there's a need to rebuild, as there might be with the old gray garage across from Town Hill, it's quite dilapidated now. We hope that possibly they would reference the historic style. And we would support continuing Hawthorne transformation with beautification, upscale restaurants, and distinctive shops. Okay, next, on the upper left, and some of these pictures you'll be seeing, we'd like to see small scale developments of rental over retail, which is the upper picture. The picture to the right below it shows what just the right paint color can do for a building. That's a slight salmon color. It makes a huge difference. That's the Jenny Helms building, about the second building up on the right side of Colonial. You see birdies, and I don't know what the use will be made of that, but we strongly encourage finding spaces for small conferences and meetings to bring in customers weekdays and during the off seasons. On the below that, on the left, we'd like to see exploration of whether charming features and design flourishes might be allowable under the tax credits, the historic tax credits. To the right of that, you see a rental over retail again with a center courtyard and an arch that references the beautiful arch, the famous arch that leads to our pier. And she incorporated that into that particular design. Then on the bottom, we strongly encourage building municipal and recreation center out of the blighted old warehouse on the left as you enter Colonial, municipal center in the front, recreational center in the back to provide cool weather recreational opportunities for the youth and children. And you'll notice there the red and yellow trees. We support and will be planting Saturday trees that will be those colors in the autumn. And that landscape plan, as small as it is, will be bringing at least 3 seasons of color to Colonial Avenue. Okay, our folks in good, I see you sat down, resting now. Okay, the next phase, the marketing prospectus and economic development strategy. Jackie is going to be handing out, or has already done 3 of the brochures, prospectuses, which we would really like back if possible, because we have a limited supply. So we've been very explicit about recruiting retail. We feature folk offering something old, but also new and exciting. This prospectus highlights our strengths, that we're a historic riverside resort. We're a mid-century gaming mecca. But once again, we're a town for the times, for today's active lifestyle and renewed interest in history and nature. It's important to identify and track relevant data. This prospectus highlights both steady growth. Our growth rate exceeds that of Virginia and the United States, and the major boost in residents and tourists coming our way, which will be further enhanced with the new four-lane nice bridge and Dotson's and other developments. We encourage focusing promotion on all the many ways to enjoy oneself in Colonial Beach year-round. For naturalists, high season can be September through May. Fishermen and boaters can enjoy autumn leaf color and perfect temperatures in spring. Historic sites are open year-round. Festivals are held every season of the year. We are featuring this in order to give encouragement to prospective businesses that we can be a 12-month community that attracts both customers and tourists. And we're featuring that Colonial Beach's accomplishments are getting noticed. The designation of the downtown as a National Historic District, the $27 million investment in development. And also down below, you'll see all the government agencies and universities that are partnering with us. Also, on the right side of the page, town government and economic development groups are focused on ways to support businesses. And below that, prospective business owners might want to come here to not only conduct a business, but to live and to raise their children in our safe, walkable, bikeable golf cart community. And finally, where do we go from here? We'll be sharing this prospectus with desired retail and target best prospects based on the market analysis being done now. Collaborate with town government and other economic development organizations on the Rural Community Development Initiative, activating the design component of that as soon as possible. We'll be working to take advantage of the Small Business Development Center's Small Down and Merchant Program training and consultation. We would urge focusing promotions on year-round and midweek reasons for coming to Colonial Beach. And plan and seek funding for government investment and rental development on Colonial Avenue, again, to contribute to a year-round customer foot traffic customer base. We would strongly encourage that all regulatory and policy changes affecting our commercial core should undergo a business impact analysis. You've heard of environmental impact analyses, and we would encourage a business impact analysis. We propose mitigating gentrification and displacement by securing and expanding resident housing for the workforce, seniors, families, and those with modest and moderate incomes. In closing, I'd like to share with you our particular set of values in this effort. Our DCB Main Street approach seeks economic revitalization while preserving our public-spirited, small-town ambience, diversity, and commitment to economic revitalization for the benefit of all residents and businesses. Our aim is a people-centered prosperity that promotes one of the best things about Colonial Beach, our warm, interesting, and caring people. The motto for our community foundation is Community Found. That is exactly what we hope new businesses will experience when they locate here. Thank you very much, and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
No, I'm excited about
Joyce?
handing copies out.
I'm sorry, you said you had limited hard copies of the prospectus. Is it available online in PDF?
We can make it available online in PDF. We too are working on our website. We've been so busy, we haven't paid enough attention to our own communications.
Well, it would be really great if we could have a link to a PDF on our website, on our town website.
Would that be okay? Can we
Of
upload
course.
it as a link?
Yes, yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and if you do know of any businesses that might be interested or someone that has contacts that could help recruit businesses, please let us know and we would share these prospectuses with them.
Fantastic. I think you should make sure to give it out to all of the real estate companies in town.
Absolutely. That'll be one of the first things.
Oh, yeah, we have a Conrail meeting in a couple weeks. Look, we should take a couple to that as well.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, what all of you have been waiting for tonight. The Halloween Proclamation. I did release this a little bit early. I hope I didn't get in too much trouble for that, but people wanted to know what their kids, what they were planning to do. So I will now read the formal proclamation. Whereas the town of Colonial Beach, which is a spirited Halloween celebration for its citizens, and whereas a night that young and old can safely let their imagination turn them into ghosts, goblins, witches, and other mysterious creatures. And whereas doorbells will be rung around town by small, peculiar characters extorting treats. And whereas there will be treats offered at the oddest of places. And whereas to provide a safe environment for all of those that participate, we recommend leaving a light on, maintaining social distance, and most of all, be kind. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Town Council of the Town of Colonial Beach hereby proclaims that Saturday, October 30th, 2021, from the hours of 4 to 6 p.m. is Trunk or Treat at the Colonial Beach High School, sponsored by the Volunteer Fire Department. And the hours between 5 p.m. and 8 p.m. on Sunday, October 31st, is hereby designated as Halloween Trick or Treat night within the town of Colonial Beach. Be it further proclaimed that all creatures and their families have a happy and safe Halloween. Oh, I'm excited. Teacher's gonna be a pirate. I named him after Blackbeard, so he's kind of stuck with it until he can like buy his own costume, I think. All right. Next up is citizen input. First up, I have Ms. Morgan. I see you and Rosie over there. Yes. I would like people to know, just in case anybody's wondering, we will have citizen input on parking at the November work session. So I know that was like a hot topic. Like I said, these things are happening fast. It'll be on the November work session. Also, I do limit people to 3 minutes as per our bylaws. And I follow up afterwards. This is our time to listen to you. So I don't interrupt or anything. You have the whole time period for you to say, and then a follow up as requested after. Thank you. Oh yeah, pull that mic down, Rosie.
If you don't already know me, my name is Rosie, and I'm helping the Sidewalks in our town, if you don't already know that. The Cyborg Project Progress Report. First, I would like to thank the people who have helped us. Thank you to Mayor Robin Schick and Vice Mayor Mike Cabry, who have both given us valuable information. Thank you to Miss Joyce Ream here, who helped us with our first fundraiser, and especially thank you to Patricia Hansley from the Eagles Club. Miss Hansley created a collection box for plastic tops and toilet paper rolls and collected lots of them from the Eagles. Next is our fundraiser report. In the summer, we collected plastic tops and bottle tops, toilet paper rolls, and paper towel rolls. We are now sorting them and counting them. There is a company in England that will buy them, but we are hoping to find an American company. In September, I held a girls only yard sale. We also sold flower bulbs in September and October with Flower Power fundraising. We are now having a Halloween house decorating contest. I have some flyers out for anyone who is interested. The entry fee is $5, and there are 3 categories: family, creepy, and beauty. I will be one judge, and we have another prospective judge. So we are hoping for one more volunteer. We also need help with our prizes. If there are any local businesses who can donate coupons or our items, please contact us. In November, we will be selling small flat American flags for $1 in honor of Veterans Day. Looking ahead to December, we'll have handmade Crockett snowflake ornaments for $5. Our current total for fundraising is $400. That's not much. By our estimate, that is based enough to replace 1 square of sidewalk. The estimate is based on concrete and labor being approximately $25 per square foot. If anyone here knows more information on prices, please contact us. We'll be out in the community soon asking people to sign a petition requesting that the library pole will be removed. If you can please sign the petition. Finally, we have contacted Dominion Energy about the pole in front of the library. They do not have an address where I can send a letter. They said someone from our town council would need to call them and request a work request. Once that is done, I can send my letter.
Thank you very much. Your 3 minutes are up. We will follow up with you, especially on the Dominion poll. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much. You have a follow-up question? Okay.
Rosie, are you interested in sitting on a CIP committee? We can use a youth member.
What is the CIP committee?
We are forming a capital improvement committee to help prioritize some of our items, and I'd like to talk to her about some of her interests in town, so.
Oh, we love that. Yeah, thank you so much.
Cabry says he'll be a judge for your contest.
All right, thank you.
All right, Mr. Vaughn.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the council. I'm going to remove my mask for a minute. In your earlier comments, I did not come prepared to respond to what you had to say, but I do have some comments based upon that. You emphasized the importance of transparency and context, and I couldn't agree with that more. Then you proceeded in a fairly thinly veiled statement, long statement, characterizing certain things that I had said on a social media post and certain things I've said to you directly. And now I'm in a posture where you're going to hold me to 3 minutes and I'm not going to have an opportunity to respond to that. I think that's both disingenuous and I think it's unfair. We can resolve these issues. We can do what you say you want done and what the public, I believe, needs to be done. And that is, let's have an open public forum where everybody can sit down and we can discuss our differences and our opinions. It doesn't have to be personal. This isn't personal. I'm not anti-development. I'm just the opposite. I am very much pro-development. I want it done in a positive manner that in the long term is the benefit of the entire community and certainly the public in and of itself. But again, context matters, and you make a reference, just for example, that the contingencies and the modifications to the agreements relating to contingencies and the deposit. The contract provides a developer to walk away at any time and get his deposit back. So those are mythical things to start with. The thing that bothers me most about transparency is you make a statement that there were multiple meetings, 5, in which this contract amendment was discussed. I've gone through each one of those, and each one on the agenda talks about we're going to go into closed session to discuss development and real estate agreement contract analysis. That's the notice that the public got. And 4 of those occasions, they came back and you moved to extend the contingency dates with no other discussion of what went on behind the closed doors. In another case, there was no reference to what went on behind closed doors at all. You can do that if you choose. I think it was the wrong thing to do. I don't think it was required, but the point is the public needs to know what's going on. The public has a right to know before you make decisions that involve their property, their tax base, and their lives. And that's all I'm asking the council to do. I have a lot more comments. I hear your beeper, so I suppose I'm out of time. I'm more than happy to talk to any member of the council about any of these contentions. Everything that I have said is backed up by a document that I have, information that I have, and I'm happy to share that with
Thank
each
you,
of you
Mr. Bond.
individually.
We will follow. Thank you. Mr. Christensen?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and remarkable council. My name is Bob Christensen, Robert Christensen. And like most everyone here, I wear several hats. One is my residence at 18 Washington Avenue. And I also own property on Hawthorne Street at 108, adjacent to the building known as the Chamber of Commerce building. I share some of the concerns that Mr. Vaughn has expressed and appreciate some of his ideas. What I'd like to do tonight is to speak to the goals that the town is presenting in the legislative agenda for 2022 that is in tab B of today's agenda as they apply to the downtown business district. The goal 1 is to be an attractive town to tourists, existing residents, and prospective residents. I question whether we can have an attractive town if our downtown parking lots are unattractive and do not have proper drainage. I suggest that the town give priority to the improvement of these parking areas. Goal 2 is to provide a safe, secure, supportive, and engaging environment for residents and businesses. This should be true for all who wish to do business in the town. To make code and zoning exceptions for particular developers should be guarded against. Goal 3 is to be a business-friendly environment that promotes growth and attracts quality businesses. I think it's reasonable to expect that when town buildings are sold at a discount, that the interior as well as the exterior of the buildings will be made feasible and attractive to potential tenants. This should especially apply to phase 2 and 3 of the Dodson development. Goal 4 is to be a community that is resilient to rising sea levels, storms, recurrent flooding, and other current and future threats. I challenge the town to ensure that all new improvements to property within the business districts do not weaken, but strengthen the ability of our infrastructure to mitigate the threat of damage from storms. I say that very respectfully. I thank you, good people, for all your work, and that's all I have. I would like to give this copy, if I could, to
Sure, we
the clerk.
hand it to Heather and she can appreciate it. Ms. Hutchins, you're next.
Good evening, Sherry Hutchins, Lossing Ave. I attended last night the meeting and I heard a lot about transparency, taxes, Eleanor Park. So one of the things I have to ask you is, how much do you all believe Eleanor Park is worth? I'm going to just step out here and say probably 1.2 million. So if sold, I believe someone told me these numbers. I'm not sure if they're correct. You can correct them afterwards. 20% would go to the school. That is approximately $240,000. 10% for fire department, 10% to the rescue squad. That is 40%, which is about $480,000, leaving 60%, $720,000 to general fund or whatever things such as infrastructure or whatever you could put that money towards. So you are throwing that money away, which means just go ahead and raise my taxes now if you go ahead with this easement on Eleanor Park. But if sold, we would have renewable income from property taxes, vehicle taxes, water, etc. So I think that any resolution about this easement should be held off until the town gets to vote in their 2 new council members. I don't think the people that were appointed by my present council have the right to have their vote placed on this. We did not vote them in. They were handpicked by certain people in front of me. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, we'll get back to you on that section. Mr. Dotson?
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. 2 weeks ago, I presented our revised plan at this meeting here, so I won't go through the details of that. I just wanted to say that we continue to seek input from you guys, from Downtown Colonial Beach, from the Chamber, from others. We're willing to listen. I think we want what you guys want. And so I appreciate everyone's opinion, whether you agree or not or disagree. I do appreciate everyone's opinion. We will continue to seek to make all these phases as successful as possible for the long-term benefit of Colonial Beach. I'm happy to hang around after if anyone wants to discuss phase 2 and 3 in more detail. The plan that we presented 2 weeks ago, we think is a good plan that works financially. That is a good plan for Downtown Colonial Beach now and in the future. And it's up to you guys whether you like it or not. Hopefully you do, but if you don't, I'm willing to listen as well. So if you guys want to delay the closing on phase 2 and 3, to have further discussion, to have more retail tenants come through phase 2, for example, and more office tenants, I'm more than happy to do that if that's what the town wants. Since the beginning of this has been a partnership. I felt that way from you guys. I hope you guys feel that way from our team, that we want what's best. So if that is what's best, we will oblige. We do have 2 folks coming tomorrow to take a look. So I think some people have some conflict with having a co-working space in the bank building. I think it will be a great use. However, I also agree that retail will be a better use. I'm not disagreeing with that. So if we find a great retail tenant, we're happy to move the co-working space to a different building. Yeah, happy to hang around later with questions. Thank you.
Mr. Williams? Oh, I'm here. Oh, there he is.
Hi, David Williams, Irving Avenue. It sounds like some of my concerns are being discussed and addressed. The biggest thing was with what we're discussing now about the Dotson Development Group. I believe I agree with Mr. Vaughn and some of the other people who have spoken. I think the citizens just want to see more transparency in the process. Like it was discussed, if there have been 5 meetings prior, and then we get a surprise meeting or a surprise notice last meeting where they announced that almost all of the retail is turning into residential or office space. I mean, that's disappointing to me. I think that the people would like to see, especially the old bank building and probably Chamber of Commerce, turned into something. I think that was part of the draw and what really excited people about the new development. Also not really a fan of the square kind of flat shaped building that's in the front. We went from 3 stories to 1 story, and like my wife said, it kind of looks a little bit like a prison. So I think we should really kind of give the people some input to see, because this is a very important part of our town. If eventually we're going to have guests coming in from the river, they're going to need something to do as soon as they get off the boat from the pier or whatever. So I think that they would like to be able to walk to a business, maybe to a restaurant. So yeah, that's just my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to make, well, thank you for having Eric Nelson, 1321 Lossing.
And I'd like to make 3 points. First of all, to Joyce, yes, Edward is not available. My husband and I moved here in 2012, and I have, since 2012, so in other words, for practically 10 years, I've been to almost every council meeting. I've been to most of the planning commission meetings. I have been to many of the Parks and Rec Commission meetings. I have participated in most of the various organizations in town, which, by the way, for some stupid reason I don't understand, people call all of the volunteer organizations in town special interests, and I don't understand that at all. These are people who volunteer to make this town a better place. Anyway, my point is I'm probably one of the most informed residents in this town. I know how things work. I see the machinery in this town. I know the staff that work in this town. I have seen many councils come and go, and I think this council is the most transparent, the most constructive council that I have ever witnessed. And your comments this evening, Madam Mayor, prompted me to make these comments, because I think those people who weave conspiracy theories about the things that are going on in this town are way off base, and I think it's shameful. And I think what's happening in this town is there's this kind of tendency to point fingers, to blame, to spin conspiracy theories, and I think it's detrimental to the town. I think it's detrimental to the progress in this town. And the last point I'd like to make is about Duke Dodson. I think everybody knows that I'm the agent for Dodson Development Group for their residential sales. So of course I have gotten to know Duke, and I'm probably more in the know than most people about the things that the Dodson Development Group is doing. But there is not a man in this town that cares more about this town than he does. He is trying very, very hard to do the best possible job he can for this town. And it kind of burns me when I hear these people who are saying disparaging things about his attitude towards this town or the work that he's doing. He is really stepping up to the plate. He cares about this town more than anybody would probably know. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Mr. Henson? Larry?
He's back there.
You came.
Here,
I've been waiting for you.
I know you had, me too. I'm Larry Henson, District 3 Montrose. I'm here to bring you good news and bad news with Bike Fest. 7th year, I come every year, and this year was unusual. And first one got my ticket, purchased my ticket called Chamber of Commerce. They said, tickets are $10. Great, for the whole weekend. I went to High Tides and purchased ticket $12. And so the other people did as well. And when I give the $2 difference back, I don't care about $2, but the purpose of the way it was handled. And you folks should know that. So please take notes on that. They were selling tickets for $12, so 10 at High Tides. And also parking motorcycles on the streets. That's unusual. A lot of complaints on that. People just came to have a good time, and every year it's getting lesser and lesser people. And kind of unfortunately, it's going to be, I don't know what's happening next year. We have it next year or not. And also on the hotel, it used to be called the Days Inn. It's called the River something now.
River Edge.
Yeah, my friends came from Winchester, came down from Ashland, 3 nights, $855 and some change. And it's being gouged. So if you folks can check into that, I appreciate it so much. And hope need any help for next year. I got ideas I can help you as well for Bike Fest. I've been a motorcyclist all my life and got a lot of friends I ride with daily. And so I hate for this not discontinue next year. I can help you some advice and as well as other things as well. I always talk to the mayor all the time when she comes down to the board of supervisors meetings. And we always talk about the town and activity you could have on the boardwalk is really got a gold mine here, but you're not using it. It's unfortunate. Columbia Beach is a great little town. I have a cousin that grew up here, lived here, and when I grew up in Montrose and was part of Westmoreland County as well as Columbia Beach. And so much can be done here, so I'm sure the citizens feel the same way. So much activity has to be done here. This is a great area to really progress and be successful. You come down on weekends, the beaches are completely filled with people all the way around, riding the bike all around the whole week. People everywhere. There's nothing for them to do as far as vendors on the boardwalk. So I appreciate y'all looking at that, and Chamber of Commerce, I'd like to have a meeting with them too and talk to them as well. And Montrose, do we have a Chamber of Commerce? Trying to get one created. We have a few new businesses came in town. I got ideas for that place also. So thanks so much for your time. Good luck for the future.
Thank you.
God bless America.
Excuse me, Maggie Lane, 102 Forest Avenue. I just have one question really of why Code Red was not used for the parking situation during Bike Fest or paving Locust Avenue or milling First Street. It was not also on the town website. Code Red's not just for emergencies. Code Red is a great notification system, and during my time with the town, many citizens even called me and complained when I had forgotten to send one out for yard debris. That's how a majority of people get the information. Code Red is how older citizens get to know when we're closed, when town hall is closed, and when yard debris is picked up, and when paving is going on. Most people aren't on Facebook, and just putting it on there isn't going to get a majority of the town. A lot of our citizens are older and aren't tech savvy, so relying on social media and websites aren't going to get the info to them. Thank you.
Is there anybody else who didn't sign up? Okay. Decor. Next. JC, resolution 4521, acceptance of BFIRS hardware grant.
Good evening, council. So this grant is for the fire department to update some of their computer technology to enhance their response capabilities. There is no match requirement. It's exactly for $700, which will buy one unit of equipment. And I spoke with Chief Roby this morning, and he hopes to get more funding in the future so that they can have more of these computers. So that's something we could be looking into later on. But just for the record, this is a recurring annual grant. And as we develop our new grants process, in the future, we may not be seeking official approval on stuff like this because it's recurring, relatively low dollar amounts, no match. So I was thinking maybe doing an annual report on these types of grants, just so you know they're happening. But they really don't bring too many obligations on the town. So I don't know if we need to bring these to council every single time.
Okay, Mr. Moncur, you have a question?
If there's no local match, and nothing for us to sign, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I agree, Mr. Moncur. The only thing I would ask is if there's something that's required as a closeout to confirm that we did purchase that equipment, to close it, that there's some way, at least in the annual report or however we decide to report it, that we can show that it's been closed, that we met all the requirements to go along with that grant.
Yes, sir.
Is there any other questions for JC? You gonna go after a fire truck? Fire, big one. Do I have a motion for resolution 4521, the authorization and acceptance of the BFIRS hardware grant?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
I'm gonna go out of order, doesn't mix it up. Mr. Allison?
Aye.
Mr. Duggan? Mr. Cabry,
Aye.
Dr. Sullivan,
Aye.
Ms. Robertson,
Aye.
Mr. Monkey. Giving you away. Okay, resolution 4621, legislative agenda. Ms. Jacobs. Adam Jacobs, sorry.
Thank you. Before you have the legislative agenda packet, the purpose of this is really to have something comprehensive that we can take to our legislators as we go to advocate on behalf of the town. As some people have mentioned earlier this year, we're in a particularly unique situation where there's been a lot of funding provided at the federal level and state level, and there's opportunities for us to go after that. But in addition, as we work to build relationships with our community partners, a piece of that is also building relationships with our legislative representatives at the state level and at the federal level. So as we spoke about last meeting, we had some priorities out of our work session or out of our retreat that led into some of our work session discussions. And as we've talked about infrastructure and some other items as it relates to tourism and really preserving our history as well as our infrastructure along the boardwalk, you see some of those priorities in our legislative agenda today. So I'll run through the 7 items that are included. The first is the request for infrastructure funding for upgrades to the town oldest drainage area. Working with Public Works, the estimate on that is about $3 million. So we are requesting that. A request for funding of the historic James Monroe Birthplace Trail connection to enhance tourism and preserve this historic asset. Obviously, we will hope to partner with the county for some resources on that in the future as well. We've recently learned that there will be new tourism funding that's coming forward from the state. The county will receive a portion of that. We know that they'll get that final amount in December. So we hope to be able to ask the county for some of that tourism revenue potentially for this project. Third, to request funding for the rehabilitation and expansion of the Colonial Beach Municipal Pier. We are pursuing a grant for that that has been submitted through the VDOT process, working with Mr. Murphy and Ms. LaRiviere. The fourth is a charter amendment to change the police chief to report to the town manager. There are many instances across the state where you'll have the police chief report to the town manager. Having spoken with some of you all, that is some of the desire, I believe, of most of the consensus of council. So we've included that item. Fifth, request support and funding to support a recreational wellness facility. 6, support any efforts to expand broadband opportunities in the town and diversify private industry expansion in our town and region. We know the Northern Neck broadband expansion has happened out in the county, but looking for any opportunities to leverage broadband in the town as well. And then finally, support any efforts in the Virginia or Maryland legislature to support and assist the town with erosion control and resiliency efforts along town beaches and shorelines. I'll also share that the mayor will be meeting with Congressman Whitman at a mayor's roundtable in the coming weeks. So part of this legislative agenda is also making sure that we have a packet to be able to send to our congresspeople and the folks at the state as well. Delia Ransom, Mr. Stewart, as we look to advocate in the upcoming General Assembly session. So also included for informational purposes is the VML agenda, which the mayor attended the VML conference. They have a slate of legislative priorities. For informational purposes, I included that, but you all can adopt this resolution excluding that VML legislative agenda at this point. And I'll answer any questions that you all have.
Yeah, anybody have any questions? Yes.
I fear I may have missed a discussion with regard to the change in the town charter regarding the appointment of police chief. I was unaware that we had come to any kind of consensus on that issue.
We haven't.
Okay, we haven't. It's one of these issues on which you can make an argument one way or the other, and a very reasoned argument one way or the other. I really don't have a hard position on it, but I think it's worthwhile because it is a substantial change and does require a charter change, that we at least articulate some reasons as a council for why we are looking to make this change. I think the public deserves some insight on why we're suggesting this.
I was going to talk to that item. I think that is important. I guess I'll talk to it now, right? That was a good segue into it. So this has come up, I shouldn't even say recently really, but you know, we're fairly new council. And Vicki and I are the only ones that have been here for a couple of years. And right now, the way our charter is written, which sets up exactly how our structure of government performs, is that the police chief is hired and also works directly for town council. And we've heard a lot of public input about the police department and policing, and I think each one of us as council members has had suggestions and encouragement and meetings and trying to get somewhere. But the truth is that one of the most complicated things is that the chief has 7 bosses. And it is a hindrance in many ways to actually performing the duties or having clear direction. It's impossible for 7 bosses to have day-to-day management of the department. It just is not logistically sensible. Also, because the chief is resigning and we are selecting a new chief, currently our charter, this is what our charter says, and we can't change that overnight. We have to go to Richmond, we have to petition it with Richmond. You know, the concept would be Senator Stewart would have to assist in that. And so it's a complicated legislative process, although not necessarily too complicated, but it takes time. So if we were going to consider to fix the management issue where a department has 7 bosses, then we should be upfront about the consideration of that ahead of hiring a new chief, right? Because you wouldn't want to take the job and think you had 7 bosses and then find out you have 1 boss, or who do I, you know, anyway. So it's a discussion point. I meant when we talked about this legislative agenda, the preliminary one at the work session, we hadn't talked about the police chief position yet. So it was a little bit out of order. And then from feedback from that was how I got to be added in there, is that, you know, we take feedback from the work sessions and then we process that and then we add in, you know, we come back with new information at the regular meetings because of that. So I think that we all want the best for our police department. We want to support our police department. And I think in a way, having less bureaucracy and politics to that will help them operate more efficiently. It will also help them in creating goals and achieving them. And we still ultimately obviously have the authority to hire and fire the town manager, so still a lot of level of responsibility. It's not like that's taken away, but I think it's a, you know, concept that has been talked about is that it would help daily operations of the department. Just attending BML where all the other mayors and council members were at, this is very common around the state. Many localities have made this change to their charter and prefer it and encourage it, actually, that the police chief reports to the town manager rather than to 7 bosses on it. It's just impossible. You can't all get consensus. We meet twice a month and we have a lot of other you know, work that we're supposed to be doing. We need that department to also function. So, and is that a segue into that? Yes.
Yeah, I'd just like to clarify, it's not really like he's working for 7 individuals. He's working for, right now, the town council, which is an evolving body. It changes every 2 years at a minimum and can change even more often than that. So by having to report to the entire council, and by having the council have to totally agree on what his goals and objectives are, brings politics into it. And I don't think that the police chief should be subject to the politics that sometimes happen at the council level. We have a well-qualified town manager that can take this role on now. And if anything ever happens and we lose that town manager, I think we will go very much towards getting another well-qualified town manager that will continue to manage in a professional way.
Other feedback? Yes, Mr. Dunn.
from my experience, this is the best way to go. I believe that it gets everybody on the same page. So if the council gives direction to the town manager as to what we want to do, what kind of policing we want to have, then the town manager is responsible for implementing that. When you have it changing and coming for difference, you can have a situation where the town manager may be trying to follow the council's directions one way, police chief may be interpreted another way, which causes confusion. And also, I just think it's the way it's usually done. It worked very well in Warrington to have it this way. Because
It's right here.
Well, if anybody else, I want to do it. Anybody else go first? Okay.
Now, I just want to echo some of the same comments, but if we look at holding the town manager responsible to execute town priorities for us, the police department is a branch of that. That police department has to be coordinated and synchronized with everything from public works to finance to HR. And if we have the police as a whole separate entity up there, us as a council have no interaction with the other staffs or authorities with the other staffs to get it synchronizing or ensuring that there's a common goal being achieved. And I think it's only through the town manager position and aligning that police department under there, it's another arm that the town manager has to conduct those priorities and execute those priorities in a synchronized, collaborative manner. And I think that's the best way to make it work.
Well, a practical consideration, I'll ask council to weigh in if I'm incorrect on this, is that under the current charter, the police chief is an at-will appointee and can be discharged without cause. Is that correct? And I think the advantage to having the police chief appointed or under the duties of town manager is that any personnel action is going to require cause, which would enhance somebody's willingness to take that job and not be involved in politics.
I've heard that from other people too in law enforcement, that actually you're gonna attract a qualified chief that most of them don't want to work for an entire council that requires consensus on things, and that they prefer the town manager position when you obviously want a very qualified chief. So I think I've heard that from a lot of law enforcement. And also accountability. It's hard for a body of or an organization to hold the department accountable on a daily basis and in general. And I think that's I've seen that be a struggle over years. You know, this isn't new. And so I think that will help to give more direction, more specific direction to the department, and bolster the leadership that can happen there. So anyway, I think that's a little bit about that. Yeah.
So I have a question at this point. What's the next step it's on the legislative agenda, but as a body, do we need to have a resolution to make the change and then send that to the legislature? How does that work?
I'm gonna pass that off to Vivian or Mr. India.
Yes, that would be the starting point, but I do not know off the top of my head whether it requires a public hearing, the exact process, but yes, action by council would be the starting point.
So can we get that on the work session or the agenda for November? I mean,
Let's look into where this goes from here. If there is consensus to move this forward with the legislative agenda. I also have a meeting with Senator Stewart, so they'll be, coming up, I think in November. So we
certainly want to get it in before crossover day.
before crossover date, make sure you have to get it in before crossover.
This is why we have a town manager and attorney. So we'll move forward with that as necessary.
Yes, we'll work through the process with Vivian, and we'll bring back that item for your consideration.
I missed it. Did Ms. Sybil leave already? Okay, because I I'm sure she has an opinion on the functioning of this or about how this may be.
Just a comment. I mean, if it does have to have a public hearing, I think we should have something authorized tonight in case that's the case, so we can get it on the agenda for a public hearing.
You can set a public hearing, even if it's not required. So if you wanted to set it in an abundance of caution, you could do that. Just for your future reference, you can also, as long as the public hearing is properly advertised, it could be ratified. The setting of the public hearing could be ratified at a later date too. That's just for your own, just reference as you proceed in the world of public hearings. But yes, if you wanted to go ahead and set a public hearing, again, even if it's not required by statute, which I know it is. I did this, but it's been a couple of years ago. I did a whole charter change process.
I can't imagine it wouldn't require a public hearing.
No, I'm not 99% sure it does, but I don't want to quote you chapter, the code without having it in front of me.
So do you want to propose to have a consensus vote on authorization for the public hearing?
Yes.
Okay, do I have a second for that? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. There's some direction.
To clarify, it's a public hearing for the issue of charter change.
Correct. Correct. Okay, back to the legislative requests. I just want to clarify a couple things. I know I see infrastructure, so number one. It's got a dollar figure of 3 million. I mean, I'm happy to ask for 10, but that's fine. More the better. Request funding for the Birthplace Trail Connection. I just want to let people know that are maybe in the audience or maybe have seen this document for the first time, that there's a VDOT TAP grant application and process right now for that. And then our match for that is it 120 or something? It's not $500,000.
Are you asking about the total cost of the project or?
No, just the match portion.
Top of my head, I think $500,000 sounds.
No.
The project cost went up significantly. The total project cost was, I think, just under 2. So 25% of that, sorry, I'm not a math guy, probably around 300 grand. Is that where you were?
300. Yeah,
like
that might have been closer to it because I was thinking it was 150 if we split it with the county.
Yeah, it was the pier that was $500,000.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's it. Okay. Yeah, I think it was 150 if we try to split it with the county. So I'm glad to hear about some tourism money because that can act as a match for it.
Yeah, I think some of the other portion of that, at least from attending the ceremony a couple weeks ago, is operational costs if you did want to have that building open more frequently. So it may not be that it's all for the actual trail connection piece, but you could also potentially have some funding for operating in the future.
This is gonna just increase participation with the county though.
That's my question.
Yeah,
Have we spoken to Mr. Rasavi about this yet?
he said provided a letter of support.
Yes. Okay, all right. Thanks. Support money.
We're working on it, baby.
Okay.
Because this is a public meeting. He's probably watching me right now.
Yes, and laughing.
He knows. He knows. He probably is laughing. Now I know he is. Okay, anything else on here? Recreational and wellness facilities, possibility YMCA. We're hopeful. Broadband, always broadband. Always broadband. And thank you, Mr. Allison, for bringing that in. I think that was part of your suggestion. I know you had missed that last meeting, but you provided comments. And support for resiliency, beach, shoreline, erosion control. All important topics. This was really well prepared. Thank you for the introduction. Also, the tie into the comprehensive plan and how that influences and supports these objectives, the strategic goals.
I was impressed.
You were?
Yep. I still wanted to go.
I can't remember the last time we had a legislative agenda, so very exciting. Okay, I do not want to adopt the VML agenda, a legislative agenda. I was happy to attend VML. I think Mr. Duggan also had some feedback about that. I'm glad to know what they are supportive in doing, but I think we are just focused on Colonial Beach. Sound good?
So are you ready for a motion to adopt the Colonial Beach legislative agenda as presented?
Is that a motion?
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I need a roll call vote on this? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, yes. Mrs.
This is Colonial Beach agenda, not the DML agenda.
Correct.
Okay.
No VML agenda. Yes. Okay, wait, all in favor again?
Aye.
Any opposed? Central Drainage Engineering Services update. This is sewer. Poop. Poop. I'm trying to wake you up out there. I'm trying.
You're spending too much time with Teach, that's what it is.
I do, I have a 2-year-old. I apologize. Okay.
Yes, bringing back this item that we discussed a couple weeks ago at the work session, we mentioned that we were trying to get this on the agenda for the 20th. We pushed as hard as we could, given the holiday and some of the constraints, but I'll turn it over to Mr. Murphy to talk about the process and where we are today.
The central drainage area, most people know about the replacement that's necessary there. The town issued the RFP for engineering services related to the central drainage area.
Can you talk into your mic a little bit better or pull your mic closer, please?
Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, the town issued RFP for engineering services in the central drainage area, and it was placed on EVA, the public procurement portal in Virginia. The town has received submissions up until September 21st, after which a review panel evaluated the submissions and interviewed the firms submitting such. The highest rated firm was Dewberry. And the notice of intent to award was placed out yesterday. The council can expect that this will move to you for authorization for the town manager to proceed to a contract with Dewberry at the next work session in November.
Do the people in the back hear that? Did y'all hear that in the back? I got one no, I got a couple no's, I got a couple yeses.
What's it all mean?
Yeah, what's it all mean? So Dewberry won the award for the engineering and, is it engineering and implementation?
Engineering, project management throughout the project.
Okay, engineering and project management for upsizing the pipelines where we have the sewer manhole at the bottom of Colonial Avenue that has an overflow issue and major rain events. You guys, some of you are looking at me like you don't know what I'm talking about, and some of you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're fixing that. And we had an evaluation done of how to get that fixed, and now we're at the engineering phase and the implementation phase. And implementation is supposed to begin spring.
The design will be completed, probably go to bid in the spring. We do not anticipate construction just by the current construction schedule. May end up starting September-ish, which is probably just outside the busy time of year.
Oh, another year. Oh my goodness. Gosh, these things take forever.
Keep in mind that the majority of this construction is right through the downtown area.
Correct.
So,
Right, we don't want to do it in the middle of the season. So the engineering is going to happen for the solution to the manhole issue in the central, that's called the central drainage area. That's why it's listed on here, central drainage. Drainage
Area
has,
travels from Colonial Avenue, the end of Colonial Avenue, all the way up to Boundary Street by where the cannon is.
and then at the cannon, there's a pump station and that pumps it to the sewer plant. Some blank faces out there, so I'm not sure. So
More than just repairing a manhole.
it's, yes, we're not just fixing the manhole. That's a very good, so we're talking about line replacement and upsizing that is from Colonial Avenue to Boundary Street, right in the heart of our downtown. So if engineering is done in the spring, then we want to have the bid process. The bid process takes a long time. And that procedure has to happen. We certainly wouldn't want them to start construction in July. That would not be good. So we are gonna wait for the fall, is what you're saying?
Yeah, we're hoping September,
Okay,
if not
September.
October.
Maybe October. September's still pretty busy. I'm already in trouble with Bike Fest, guys.
We'll try for October.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions on that? All right, and we're gonna have the contract to approve at the next work session.
Yes, contract to approve, to authorize the town manager to enter the contract
Okay,
at the next work session.
okay. Okay. Any other questions on this? Resolution 4721, an appointment to our Parks and Rec Advisory Commission. Mr. Duke, see you. Where's Mr.? That's okay. You gonna do it or Adam Jacobson? Mr. Allison? Mr. Allison's liaison to the advisory committee. Yes, please.
So first, a little bit of backstory on this. The Parks and Rec Advisory Commission had a vacancy. Mr. Steve Kennedy resigned from the position from the Parks and Rec Advisory Commission on July 31st. And the town has received 2 applications for this position and 1 withdrew. Now, we also have another vacancy recently that we are accepting applications for. So if you are interested in being on that board, please send an application. So resolution 47-21 appoints Michael Menace to the Colonial Beach Parks and Rec Advisory Commission.
Yeah, read the whole.
Okay.
Well, before we get there, we were provided his resume. There was an application process. Like you said, there's still a seat open, so if you'd like to apply, please apply.
Correct.
Mr. Munnis, if you do not know, is in charge of the Good Day to Run events and does a lot of physical activity in town. In fact, I saw him run twice in one day. I don't know who does that.
I'm sorry.
3 times in one day?
Every time I go.
I'm sorry, I'm shocked. I'm sorry, I apologize for that. Oh my goodness. I saw him run and then I saw him run again. A separate run. So anyway.
He is a big advocate for running.
It must get a lot of endorphins out of it or something. Okay, go ahead. Go
Sorry.
ahead and read the resolution.
All right, so whereas on July 31st, 2021, a member resigned from the Colonial Beach Park and Rec Advisory Commission. And whereas the vacant seat was posted and received 2 applicants, and whereas the town council has received the applicants and have asked the selected applicant volunteer to participate on the committee. Now therefore be it resolved that the town council in regular session, Wednesday, October 20th, 2021, hereby appoints Michael, sorry, how about that last name? Munnis, thank you, to the Colonial Beach Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission, effective immediately with a 1 term to expire on October 21st, 2022.
Okay, so Mr. Allison makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Can I do consensus vote on this, or I go down the line? No, Vivian's not paying attention, so I'm gonna go down the line. Mr. Cavery.
Aye.
Mr. Duggan. Mr. Allison.
Aye.
Mr. Moncur.
Aye.
Ms. Robertson.
Aye.
Dr. Salzalo.
Aye.
And I vote aye. We're almost. We're not. Okay, reappointment, resolution 4821, reappointment of members to the redevelopment and housing authority. Ms. Oliver.
Okay. So after doing some research, it was shown that the Redevelopment and Housing Authority had 5 members and all of their terms had expired. At the last meeting, they all voiced that they were more than happy to be reappointed. So this resolution is just reappointing the 5 members that are currently already volunteering their time without appointment for 4 more years. So their term would be expiring on October 20th, 2025. And then we also received another application for the Housing Authority, and then they had sent something.
I know they wanted to alternate the terms, I think, so that
Yeah.
it wasn't all of them expiring at the same time.
Yes, so I sent it all to you guys to see if maybe you wanted to amend when these terms expired, or if we just wanted to go off of this for now.
Okay, I gotta pull the email.
Oh, sorry. So Judy Morris would be December 2026. Miss Clement would be December 2026. So those two would be expiring December 2026 is what they requested.
Okay.
Mr. McIrvin would be March 2025. Ms. Feldman would be March 2025. And then Ms. Jenkins would be March 2026.
So are all of them supposed to expire in March instead of October?
First of October.
Nah, they should go with the same month. That's just a split one.
If we want to just make it December or January, the first of the, I don't know what, or just October, and just change the years.
Okay, let's just make it January.
Okay. So it'd be January 2026 for Norris.
Yeah.
January 2026 for Ms. Clement. Mr. McIrvin would be January 2025. Ms. Feldman, January 2025. And Ms. Jenkins, January 2026.
Do you have a motion to amend the resolution 4821?
I have a question first. Are these 4-year terms? Did I hear somewhere
This
they're
is 5-year
4-year?
terms, depends on their bylaws. Does it say a term for a housing authority?
It's 4 years, but based on the current terms that they had that were expired, so Ms. Morris and Ms. Clement, their current term was expiring December 2022. So they just want to add 4 more years from that date. Mr. McIrvin expired March 2021. Ms. Feldman, February 2021, and Ms. Jenkins, March 2022.
So they weren't all on it.
So some of them are still instated.
Well,
okay. We're cleaning
if
this
you
up.
go by our appointments, everybody was expired. The ones that are 2022, I guess, had somehow, some way, just extended their term. Because
just clean it all up.
And if we're gonna clean it up, they should be staggered for 2 years,
I
right?
agree with you. So if we're starting in 2021, then a 4-year term is 2020. 2021 to 20.
Would be a 2-year term.
25. Okay, 25. And then 2023 for the others. You guys are laughing over there.
You're doing math.
3 minus 1 is 2. I see, Mr. McGurven, yes? You wanna come on? Can I call him up? Is that okay with everybody? Sure. Ms. Feldman too, yeah, Marsha. Is Ethel here? I'd like to see her.
Yes.
Andrea?
What happened was, it all went into almost disrepair. We were doing nothing last year and a half. And then, I had a little speed problem to that. With the excitement that you guys gave us last week or 2 weeks ago, the working committee, everyone said, I want to get back in this, get going.
I think the excitement came from you.
Pardon?
You gave the excitement.
Okay, well, and since then, we have been contacting other towns that have the RHA. We've contacted some state governments in Virginia and HUD to find out how these things work. We're working very hard to get this set up. The first thing we're going to do is try to get the grant that will pay for educating us and getting it working close together, you know, so as an organization. But we're not stopped. We're meeting with the anyone in the whole town who wants to meet with us will meet there. So the reason of the dates being weird, I think the date I gave you was what was in and why they're all October. Doesn't make that much difference. They'll serve then. The idea of staggered was you wouldn't have new people all quitting at once. And so even just adding a year to it makes it legitimate again.
Yeah, I think we're gonna stagger them in 2 years because the term is 4 years. So that way, so there'll be an appointment for 2 years and there'll be some appointments for 4 years. And that way, like you said, not all of it is
Yes,
changing.
that would be great.
There's some consistency there. Is that right? Okay, so I have January of, January 20th, 2025, January 20th, 2025, January 20th, 2023, January 20th, 2023, and January 20th, 2025. We go down the term extension. Okay, do I have a motion to amend the resolution?
So moved.
A second? Second. All in favor?
Discussion.
Is there any more discussion? You have more, yeah?
No,
No?
I'm just calling.
Okay.
You should call for discussion.
I will call for discussion. Any more? discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Do I have a motion to the amended resolution 4821?
So
The
moved.
resolution as amended, yeah.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Oh, I might say, if anyone here or knows anyone who wants to be on the commission, we have some openings. And we welcome, especially some younger people, you know, kids in the age of 40, 45. Not old.
40 or 45. Okay.
We do want at least 2 more members, and we have 1 application already in. So we're getting this built up, we're gonna get going. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next, Sheffield Shores and Jamie agreement. Say guys.
We were looking at the Sheffield Shores agreement with respect to county wastewater connections, but I am not recommending an amendment to that agreement at this time. That agreement was confirmed and ratified by the court. So I think there's a better way to get to the result that I think we're looking for. So I'll look at it again. I have discussed this with the county attorney, Westmoreland County attorney. So we're not recommending at this point an amendment to that contract. Again, it was ratified by the court, so that may be more complicating the issue making it overly complicated. So, and it's probably not needed. So no recommendation on that at this time.
Okay, Norm sent a message that he's waiting on our attorney to provide clarification regarding adding additional customers on the Western Washington District Service Line. Once that information is in his office, he'll be reaching out to residents. So I know some residents, I don't know, yes, residents, yes. All right.
Here,
You waited through that whole thing.
I had to. What choice did I have?
Oh, bless your heart. Bless your heart.
I do have that communication drafted. It does have one component that touches on a closed meeting item. So I wanted to run that by you with respect to the closed meeting item because they are related. Well, it is a part of the closed meeting discussion. So with your confirmation based on your closed meeting item, I do have that communication ready to go confirming the connections based on, again, a closed meeting item tonight and also a prior discussion with council.
Okay. For the sake of transparency, the closed meeting item is listed on the agenda.
Yes, it is listed on the agenda. That is correct.
Thank you. So we'll hopefully have a response to Norm by then after this meeting.
And we did talk to him today as well and just confirmed for him. He knows where my advice is heading. Ultimate decision is that of council, but yeah, we have talked to him also today.
Do we need to take any action tonight, Vivian?
You do not. Guidance is just your guidance is sufficient, but so no, you do not need to take any action.
The consensus is to move forward on the connections, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
I just want to, yeah, some people
So
want
we
to make
can
sure.
move up, is that right?
Sounds like it.
Yes.
Okay.
And just to clarify, amending the Shellfield Shores agreement would not have really accomplished all that needed to be accomplished anyway. And so that's why I was referencing overly complicating that issue because it was ratified by the court and it really addresses maybe only a few of the properties. There are several requested connections, many of which are not a part of that property. So that would not have really solved the whole issue anyway. Again, it was just overly
There's only two on this particular Shellfield Shores.
Right.
There's two, myself and Ted.
Right.
Need to hook up.
Yeah, so, I mean, the document can be amended and then it could be re-ratified by the court, which is a
Okay,
whole
we're not
lot
amending
closer.
the document. We're just moving forward with coordination with the county.
So we can get them.
Yes.
One more thing.
Sir, you are out of order right now, and so, but I do want to make sure that any questions are answered. If you have further questions after this meeting, please reach out to our town manager.
Okay.
We can get those questions answered for you, okay? Thank you very much. Is there anything else on that at this time? No? Okay, police chief recruitment. Ms. Adam Jacobson.
Yes, so I followed up with you all with 3 quotes we received from 3 potential firms to lead the police chief recruitment. One of those is Virginia Chiefs of Police Association, the Berkeley Group and Baker Tilly. They came in at a cost of $4,000 for the chief, for the Virginia Chiefs of Police, followed by $15,000 for the Berkeley Group and $22,500 for Baker Tilly. So I'm looking for direction from you all for which firm to move forward with this afternoon. And then we can get into a discussion regarding the job description, discussion, KSAs, and hearing a little bit more from a representative from the Chief of Police Association today as to the process, and then head into a closed item to discuss any personnel matters as it relates to the police chief recruitment.
Okay, with the current bids, do we have discussion on direction on where to go with this?
Yeah,
Mr. Monk, you're looking ready at the show. I got everybody ready at the show.
I'm very comfortable with Virginia Police Chief Association as Mr. Montour discussed before. They're an organization that does this for a living. They know the body of work that is required here. They also have probably the best reach to the people that would be in the category that we would want to see as our police chief. I do not believe that the $15,000 or $20,000 options would bring us any better, in my opinion, would not bring us any better candidates than what the Virginia Police Chief would. So I'm in favor of the Virginia Police Chief Association.
I'm gonna go to this side and I'm gonna come back to that side.
The Virginia Police Chiefs Association is where your candidates are going to look, number one. And that's where they'll look, that's where it's best in.
Okay.
Could we get the town manager to just highlight the differences in the proposals, if there are any?
The biggest change is the cost. I think without delving too much into each proposal, they all typically do the same sorts of recruitments, but I think the significant differences are firms like Baker Tilly is it's a larger national recruitment firm. So that cost is going to be a little bit different for their all-inclusive professional fee to recruit for a position of this nature. Their specific tasks were developing a candidate profile, advertising, marketing, identifying quality candidates, screening of applicants, and then a final process of on-site interviews with finalists, and then leading through the acceptance and the background checks. That's the same thing that the Berkeley group was offering, is also the same thing that the Chiefs Association was offering as well. So the main difference is the cost and the types of firms that responded.
Do you see the Chiefs Association is here right now? Yes.
Yes, the executive
Hello.
director is here.
Hi. Yeah, welcome, please. Come on up. Appreciate you.
Good evening, I'm Dana Schrott. I'm the Executive Director for the Virginia Association of Chiefs of Police. I've been there for 26 years. I've done a lot of these processes, including previous processes here in Colonial Beach. And before that, I was the staff attorney for the State Crime Commission. So yeah, we do this cheaply, but let me tell you why. We know that we underbid quite a bit some of the national firms. It's the goal of the Chiefs Association to have good quality police chiefs that serve our towns and lead our departments well. We make the police chiefs that serve on our panels do so voluntarily. There's no fees to them. It's really just the administrative fee to the association and travel expenses. Sorry, my allergies are killing me. But we really pride ourselves, I think, on knowing Virginia very well. We've had a lot of different large firms come in from outside of the state that don't necessarily know the candidates. I see these candidates all the time. I will work with India to also try to identify what's important to this council, to this town, and to the department. We take that very seriously because matching somebody up to a specific town and the needs of that community is really important to do. This is a special town, and you have a lot of dependence on tourism and so forth. So you need a police department that leads your community in a very positive way, that is welcoming to the visiting public. So there's a lot of things that we take into consideration. We customize the process, by the way, to every town's needs. We don't come in with just a package and say, this is how we do it. So in the case that you have, because you have not received any kind of change in your charter yet in terms of the who actually hires a police chief, then we adapt our process to that current state of your charter. I will say that I was very happy to hear that discussion about changing your town charter, because a lot of the comments that were made were absolutely on point in terms of who the police chief reports to and sort of the streamlining of that effort and the equity across your other town departments in terms of treating that police chief in the same way. I'm just here to answer any questions, to see if there's anything that you want to speak with me about or anything.
Can you explain the process for me?
Yes, I mean, the process, first of all, I mean, there's just sort of certain things in the process that are kind of set, but after a certain point, we do some other things that are more special. Obviously, we will work with the town manager in terms of updating your job description, because it's been a while and you may need to, especially after all the police reforms that have gone through, you may want to look at whether or not you need to redefine what's in your job description for a new police chief. So we'll work with her on that. We help narrow down those candidates to the ones that we think maybe are at the first tier would be sort of telephone interviews, but after that, who we would bring in for in-person interviews. We always have a police chiefs panel of retired and active police chiefs who we select that are people who can really identify with a small town department like this one. So we find other chiefs in the state, and they're always more than willing to sit on these panels. We always go kind of outside the immediate area because we don't want this sort of personal interest of those folks on our panel. We want them to be very independent in coming in and looking at the situation and what would be best for Colonial Beach. I do a lot of advanced work in terms of looking at your crime stats. I often will survey the town council to see what you all are looking for. And after that, when we have the actual in-person interview process, if there's an interest in the town of having an additional committee interview, such as a stakeholder committee of folks like the faith community, a representative from the schools, business community, or whatever, we can set all that up as well. A really critical component at that point is to sort of narrow down the candidates to usually one really stands out, but you often have a couple that do, and make those recommendations back to the council. After that point, when the council selects a candidate, then we will work with you to conduct a background investigation. The laws have changed in Virginia, and what requires you to go through every previous law enforcement employer and check those records. So it's much more complicated than it used to be, but we help through that process. And then even after that point, any new police chief coming in, especially someone who has not served as a chief before, we can assign a mentor to them. Another chief that they can speak with confidentially, get some guidance from, and so forth. And then we have a new chief school, and we have a variety of different leadership programs that we recommend for police chiefs. So we try to help really from soup to nuts to make sure that you all get someone who is a really good public servant for your town, represents you well, and leads the department well.
I know the guy in the back was listening to all of that.
I'm sure he was.
Mayor Schiff,
Yeah.
what's your timeline expectations?
Well, I can't see this happening in less than 60 days simply because you've got to, advertise, we've got to vet the applications. I make a lot of phone calls on people who apply for jobs, and I don't call who they recommend I call the people that I know would know something about the candidates. So we do a very thorough background before bringing you a smaller group that we think should be interviewed. But 60 days is kind of a minimum when you really need to advertise a position for at least 30.
And you hit my hot button when you said you would survey the council. Do you have a set group of questions, or what does that look like?
I have kind of a set of group of questions, but I also customize it to the town. I mean, this town has some unique characteristics, being a town that relies quite a bit on tourism. I look at your crime stats. I try to ask the council members, what are you looking for in a leader? I mean, when it comes right down to it, there's two types of police chiefs that localities are looking for. One's a change agent, and one is someone who sort of maintains. And so do you need a maintenance chief, someone who, if you're happy with what's going on with the police department now, you want someone who can keep that going? Or do you see a need for change? And I will ask that of the council members confidentially in a survey to help us when we vet applications so that we know what the town is looking for. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Thank you. Is there a consensus as to, for the town manager to move forward with the chiefs?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
All right, is there any other part on this? Yeah, I think you are sticking around, yes. Okay. All right, the
Mayor.
last is our amended, well, not last, but.
Just to add, follow up to a question earlier, council, it will require a public hearing for the charter amendment. It's a 10-day notice that will be required.
Okay, but we've already authorized to move forward with public hearing. Yes. All right, next is, yes, to amend the contract. I'm just gonna read the resolution, or, I'm just making it right now. The resolution to amend the contract named Combined Amended and Restated Agreement for Purchase of Real Estate between the town of Colonial Beach and DDG Acquisitions to extend the closing date to December 17th or thereafter, as soon as, you want to tell me the language on that?
And I invite Mr. Dugan or Mr. Montague, if you have better language, but or as soon thereafter as the parties is practicable is oftentimes just the soon thereafter as practicable is kind of the simplest, I should say. There are many variations on that theme, but that's the simplest language.
Any suggestions over here?
Sometimes
Sounds
you.
like may have a different thing.
So the current contract, what does it say after the closing day?
It doesn't say anything. It just says October 31st. And oftentimes you run into the case where you just can't get to the clerk's office to record, or, what things happen and it spills over to the next day when you have a date certain. And honestly, when you close, that becomes less of an issue, even if you don't meet that target date. I mean, as long as everybody's still on board, it's not dispositive. It doesn't kill your deal, but it's nice to have a little bit of flexibility in there just so it never becomes an issue. Would you concur? Yeah.
And
So
is
this
there
would
any
be,
option to close sooner?
oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
It's no later than.
At least 2 days.
Yeah, it's no later than. It says on.
Oh, yeah, no, we could close in 2 weeks if that's what we decide.
So
I
it would
just
be
think
it would really, we're looking at no later than December.
no later than December. Yes, it is no later than December 17th or as soon thereafter.
Those documents can be recorded.
Okay. And the only reason I suggested that was because Vivian had mentioned that, that a small semantic can get in the way of sometimes that particular date. And as if you ever done a real estate transaction, you can fully understand that those things are, sometimes at the very last second, somebody spelled something wrong and the whole thing has to get redone.
Just as a practical public matter, would it be worthwhile inserting some language in there as soon as practicable, or not later than some date way in the future?
Sure.
I've done that too.
I mean, that sounds ambulatory to the public. That sounds ambulatory, and they would be suspicious and should.
Yeah. Or not later than, December 30th, the end of the month,
Well,
sometimes.
whatever's practicable, but put a backstop on it.
I agree with you.
Yeah, I like the, but not later than December 30th. Just
There's
to make sure it happens this year.
I knew the teacher in you had to say 31 days in December, fine.
What's the 31st fall on?
Friday.
Kenny with the calendar. Thanks for that. Logistics, analytics, okay.
And just to clarify, this is amending paragraph 5A in the contract that you cited, and this is the contract for properties 1 through 7. Describe the properties described on Exhibit A as 1 through 7, commonly known as the Phase 2 and Phase 3 properties.
Correct.
December 31st will probably be a holiday. The clerk's office will be closed, so we'll probably have to kick to the following Monday.
That's why I said the 30th.
So the 30th. I say earlier, not later.
But if I'm looking for end of year tax consideration, December 31st works.
Yeah.
You better keep this up.
Okay, all right, so the amendment as December 17th or as soon thereafter, not to exceed December 30th. 2020.
What I
No
have is
later.
closing it on the purchase of the property hereinafter referred to as the closing, shall take place on or before December 17th, 2021, or as soon thereafter as practicable, but no later than December 30th, 2021.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'm gonna do a roll call on
It's
this.
okay, Rhiannon.
Oh, good. Is there any further discussion on this? Is there any further discussion? Okay, I'm gonna mix it up again. Ms. Robertson?
Aye.
Mr. Montier? Dr. Sullivan?
Aye.
Mr. Capri?
Aye.
Mr. Duggan?
Aye.
Mr. Allison?
Aye.
Next is closed meeting. I'm gonna take a 5-minute recess though, because anyway, you can imagine. We'll walk into closed meeting and take a 5-minute recess, or declare closed meeting and then take a 5-minute recess. Do I have a motion to go into closed meeting pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2-3711A1 for discussion of assignment of duties, staffing, and resignation of specific public officers, appointees, or employees of the town of Floyd Beach, including the police department and possibly other departments?
So moved.
Second.
I'm doing them separately because I get in trouble when I do them together. All in favor? Okay, next, I have a motion to move into closed meeting for pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2-3711A7, consultation with legal counsel pertaining to pending litigation where such consultation and open meeting would adversely affect the litigating posture of the public body regarding a case now pending in the Westmoreland County Circuit Court.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 5-minute recess.
Mayor Schiff?
Yes.
You know, the question that is a logistical question, really.
I say it like.